As I sit down to recount the recent tangle of events that have unfolded in my life, I can't help but feel a mix of astonishment and indignation. My name is Betty, and at 70 years old, I am what you might call a non-traditional housewife. Despite my age, I have been working a part-time job that has been a part of my life for over 3 decades. The reason for my persistence in working is simple: I thrive on activity and involvement. The thought of sitting idly at home never appealed to me. My career began soon after I graduated from high school when I joined a local, well-known company. I was young and full of ambition, envisioning a straightforward office job that would see me through to retirement without the pressures of sales or physical labor. However, the reality of office politics and dynamics quickly set in. My boss was perpetually grouchy, spreading gloom with every interaction. A senior colleague of ours had a knack for making biting remarks that pushed many to resign, and an authoritative older woman seemed to dictate the office laws. This environment was far from the peaceful career path I had imagined. During these challenging years at the office, a remarkable thing happened. I met Anthony. He wasn't a colleague but a client who visited during a routine cold call. His demeanor was different, refreshing. It wasn't long before he noticed me too. "Is there something on my face?" I had asked when I caught him staring. With a disarming smile, he replied, "I fell in love with your beautiful smile at first sight. Would you like to join me for lunch?" That lunch marked the beginning of a whirlwind romance that soon led to marriage. Anthony was supportive of my career aspirations. "There's no rule that you have to quit your job after getting married," he had said, and that support meant the world to me. Despite the support and our shared dreams, life has its ways of introducing the unexpected. Recently, I discovered that Anthony, along with some of our mutual friends, had decided to move in together without my consent. What's more, they assumed I would simply take on the role of a housekeeper for them. This assumption felt like a slap in the face. The audacity to think that I would not voice my displeasure or stand up for myself was both insulting and outrageous. Reflecting on this, I realize that they underestimate me. They do not see the years of experience and the countless personalities I have navigated in my professional life. They overlook the resilience I've built and the independence I've maintained. They think I won't retaliate or push back against their unfair expectations. But they are mistaken. They will soon realize that even at 70, I am not someone to be sidelined or underestimated. I am determined to address this situation, to assert my dignity and rights. This is not just about the disrespect of assuming roles without my consent, but about affirming my place and my voice within this new dynamic they have planned without me. Caught up in the whirlwind of my new marital status, I embraced the additional roles with a mixed sense of duty and excitement. It wasn't long after our wedding that I discovered I was pregnant. The joy of expecting a child added a whole new dimension to my already complex life. My desire to continue working wasn't just driven by financial necessity, it felt essential to maintain my sense of self. The decision to consult Anthony and to keep working seemed straightforward at the time, but I couldn't have anticipated the depth of complication it would introduce to my life. Juggling the demands of my job and the nuances of married life proved more challenging than I had imagined. The stress began to take its toll on my health, and a departmental transfer at work didn't help. I found myself grappling with unfamiliar tasks and facing undue criticism from my boss. The physical and emotional strain was overwhelming, and it became clear that continuing in this manner was unsustainable. I remember the countless discussions with Anthony about my desire to resign. "I've been feeling unwell lately, probably due to stress. I'd like to quit and focus on my treatment," I explained to him. His response was dismissive. "Really, maybe it's all in your head, but well, it's fine, I guess." Though his words seemed indifferent, I had believed he was listening and understanding my plight. We talked about post-retirement life plans and how we would manage our finances. I assumed from his responses, though lukewarm, that he understood and agreed with my decision. The day I finally resigned, I returned home carrying a bouquet given by my colleagues as a farewell gift. I was not prepared for the confrontation that awaited. Anthony was furious. "Did you really quit just running away from stress?" What are we going to do about our future now? His anger was palpable. We had discussed this many times, I countered, feeling both betrayed and hurt by his reaction. Was our agreement to keep working a lie? Did you lie about wanting to get married quickly, knowing I wanted a dual income? In a sudden outburst, Anthony snatched the bouquet from my hands and hurled it to the ground. I thought with both of us earning, our finances would be secure, and with you to do the chores, life would be easier. Useless. His words cut deep, and it was in that moment I saw a side of Anthony I hadn't known existed. The man I thought I had married, regarded by his colleagues as a hardworking role model, was in reality someone who lacked the confidence to support our family on his own income, even temporarily. As I stood there, the shattered petals of the bouquet mirroring my shattered illusions, I realized that Anthony hadn't married me for a life together but rather for convenience. He had chosen me as a source of income and a manager of his household. This revelation was painful but clarifying, and it marked a decisive turn in how I would handle my relationships and assert my needs in the future. It was a harsh lesson in recognizing and confronting the realities hidden beneath the surface of marital and familial expectations. As I reflect on the past and the challenges I faced, I remember feeling almost despairing, realizing that Anthony had maintained a facade of a hardworking, respected family man in public, while at home, the reality was quite different. My health, which had deteriorated due to the stress and demands of my earlier full-time job, gradually improved as I found a balance with part-time work. It was during this time of recovery that I began to explore new ventures, spurred on by a friend's suggestion about the rising popularity of blogging. Using some money I had saved from my part-time job, I invested in a computer. This purchase marked a new beginning for me. I devoted time to self-study, often late at night when the house was quiet and my family had retired for the evening. Blogging came naturally to me. I've always had a love for learning and trying new things, and sharing my experiences and thoughts online proved to be fulfilling. However, Anthony's view of my part-time job was less than supportive. He seemed to harbor a particular disdain for my shift from full-time to part-time employment, often making disparaging remarks about the modest income it generated. "Don't get too proud over the little money you make from your part-time job," he would say, or "don't use part-time jobs as an excuse to neglect your household duties." His sarcasm was cutting and persistent. For a long time, I brushed off his comments, treating them as his way of venting frustration. But I was soon to learn that not all situations could be so easily dismissed. One evening, our son Robert, who had always looked up to Anthony, announced that he was seeing someone from his workplace and wanted us to meet her. "Mom, Dad, I want you to meet someone. I've decided to get married to a woman I'm dating at work," Robert said with an excitement that was infectious. Although I was genuinely happy for him, part of me dreaded the underlying attitudes he might have inherited from his father. "Just make sure she's not a dull person like Betty," Anthony joked in front of Robert, who quickly added, "Of course not, she's wonderful, not at all like Mom. Besides, I've already told her about Dad. She's eager to meet my all-capable dad, who works for a well-known company." These comments stung, more so because they echoed Anthony's sentiments. Robert, although working as an employee at a nearby supermarket, had always idolized his father's corporate status. Influenced by Anthony's dismissive views of part-time work and his derogatory comments about me, Robert seemed to have developed a hint of sarcasm when speaking about me. It was disheartening to realize that he might see me through the same distorted lens as his father. Navigating these family dynamics, with its underlying currents of disrespect and misunderstanding, has been challenging. I continue to pursue my blogging, finding solace and expression in my writing, while also preparing for the upcoming introduction to Robert's fiancée. In all this, I hold on to the hope that perhaps, through my own actions and the words I share with the world, I might influence not only public perception but also my son's understanding of the value and dignity of all types of work, including the part-time efforts that have kept our family afloat. The day Robert introduced us to Lisa was filled with mixed emotions. On one hand, I was overjoyed to hear of Robert's plans to marry, having harbored doubts about his prospects due to his challenging personality. However, my initial joy was quickly clouded by concern when I met Lisa. She arrived wearing an off-the-shoulder knit top paired with an extremely short skirt. Her outfit was not only flashy but also strikingly revealing for an introductory meeting with her future in-laws. Was it a mother's intuition or merely parental instinct that made me uneasy about her choice of attire? Despite my reservations, Anthony seemed immediately charmed by her. "Nice, please take care of me," she said in a somewhat nasal voice, her eyes batting through her lashes. Anthony was quick to compliment her. "You brought home such a cute lady. I'm so happy that such a cute woman will become Robert's wife." It would have been tolerable if his admiration had stopped at first sight, but it didn't. Anthony began to demean me while praising her, making remarks like, "Oh Lisa, you're looking cute in that blouse today. Beauty really shines when worn by a pretty girl. If Betty wore that blouse, it would be like casting pearls before swine." Such comments were deeply insulting, and normally, I could let some comments slide, but the constant barrage became unbearable. Overcome with disgust, I fell silent, only to be mocked by Anthony and Lisa. "What's the matter, Betty? Why the scary face? What are you, Lisa's rival?" "How pathetic," Anthony taunted. Even Robert chimed in with hurtful words. "Mom doesn't dress properly because she doesn't work properly. That's why she always looks so sloppy." To hear such things from Anthony and Lisa was distressing enough, but to be spoken to in this manner by my own son was heart-wrenching. Furthermore, I couldn't help but notice an uncomfortably close relationship developing between Lisa and Anthony, almost beyond what would be appropriate for in-laws. I decided to let it go and ignore them, as confronting the situation seemed too painful. However, ignoring them only seemed to embolden their behavior. They started going out together frequently, and Anthony often returned late at night, drunk, alongside the newlywed Robert and Lisa. The receipts I found, sometimes nearly $1,000 charged to Anthony's card, were evidence of their extravagant outings. The financial recklessness, especially considering our age and uncertain future work prospects, filled me with a trembling anger. This recklessness was not only irresponsible but also felt like a betrayal of the careful, modest life we had built together. Overhearing their plans stung deeply. Anthony, Robert, and Lisa were discussing a lavish getaway to a new luxury hotel in Anchorage, their voices ripe with excitement. "Let's go to that new luxury hotel. I hear the course meals are exquisite," Anthony enthused, clearly proud of his knowledge. Robert chimed in, his voice laced with financial worry yet eager anticipation. "Dad, you're so well informed. I'd like to go, but money's tight." Without hesitation, Anthony boasted, "Leave it to Dad. With the company bonus, it's like we're on a big ship." "I'm so happy, Anthony, you're amazing. I want to eat lots of king crab." Their conversation casually revealed that Anthony would be footing the bill for this extravagant outing, costing over $1,000 per person per night. Their ability to speak so freely of such expenses struck me as dangerously carefree. They seemed oblivious to the consequences of such lavish spending. And then, the sting of exclusion hit me. "Oh, is Betty staying with us?" Lisa asked mockingly. "Of course not. Stay in the same room as Betty? That would be a waste of the room cost, right? Such a nice room would be wasted on Mom." I could barely hold back my shaking hands, filled with frustration and resentment at their words. The luxury trip went ahead, and upon their return, Anthony dropped another bombshell. He announced his plans to build a new house. "Why build a new house when we already have one?" I protested. But Anthony dismissed me outright. "I've decided it, you have no say in this." His tone was final, his decision not up for debate. His plans to fund the new house involved loans and investments, a strategy that seemed reckless given our proximity to retirement. "Even if I don't interfere, what about the money we need for our retirement?" I questioned. Anthony, full of misplaced confidence, retorted, "I'm nearing retirement whether I retire now or later. With extended employment, I'll have enough money. We can manage with loans and investment." His simplistic view on financial matters was unsettling. "This is why women ignorant about money matters are no good," he declared, his words laced with disdain. He spoke of taking out loans as if securing favorable terms at our age was a given. If we apply jointly with Betty, it should be fine. I've already discussed this with an expert. They say it won't be a problem, he insisted, using this so-called expert opinion to quash my doubts. Yet, I remained unconvinced. Is it really common for experts to advise nearing retirement couples to easily take joint loans? Are you sure about this? My skepticism was met with impatience. What now? When did Betty become so important? Are you saying the experts are wrong? This is an order, as the head of the family, Anthony decreed, dismissing my concerns with authoritarian finality. Despite his dismissive attitude, part of me wondered if Anthony was considering our comfort in retirement, however unlikely that seemed. Maybe there was a part of him, however obscured by his current actions, that still planned with our best interests at heart. This thought was a small comfort, but as I would soon realize, the reality was far more complex and less reassuring. The construction of the new house began rapidly, a stark reminder of the sweeping changes that were unfolding, much to my dismay. The design of the new house was undoubtedly modern, yet entirely unsuited for someone my age with potential future mobility needs. The absence of any barrier-free features made it clear that it was designed with the younger generation in mind. When I confronted Anthony about it, his response took me by surprise. "We're going to live with Robert and his wife," he revealed casually as if it was the most natural plan. Unbeknownst to me, Robert and his wife had been integral to the decision-making process for the new house. It seemed Anthony, particularly enamored with Lisa, saw this as an ideal opportunity to live under one roof with them. The more I learned, the more disillusioned I became. Robert and Lisa were delighted with the prospect of living in a beautiful new house, seemingly under the impression that I would continue to manage all household chores. The audacity of such an assumption was deeply unsettling. During a conversation, Anthony nonchalantly said, "Oh Betty, we're going to live together, right? I might rely on you for housework and stuff." His words confirmed my fears. They viewed me more as a service provider than a family member. The situation escalated when I visited the new house, which was cluttered with brand bags and close luxuries that Anthony had lavishly purchased for Lisa. He then had the audacity to ask me to help her move in. "You wouldn't abandon Lisa in trouble, right? We're already living in a new house, so Betty, you should bring Lisa's things over first," Anthony insisted. It was clear they never considered how challenging my life could be without their respect and appreciation. Lisa, overwhelmed by the task of packing and moving her belongings, seemed incapable of managing her affairs efficiently. Observing this, I knew I needed to make a decisive move for my own well-being. On Lisa's final day of packing, I approached her with the calmest, kindest smile I could muster. "Lisa, you must be tired from the unfamiliar task of packing and moving. I booked a nearby business hotel for you. Why don't you rest there today and head to the new house tomorrow? It's better to start a new life well rested," I suggested gently. Thankful, yet oblivious to my true intentions, Lisa accepted my offer and left for the hotel. As soon as she was gone, I acted on a plan I had been secretly formulating for some time. I drove straight to the airport, purchased a one-way ticket to Hawaii, and boarded a plane to what I hoped would be a new chapter of freedom. This drastic step wasn't taken lightly. In fact, I had already started taking serious steps towards divorce as soon as the plans for the new house were finalized. My escape from what had become an unbearable situation was not just a flight to a tropical paradise, it was a flight towards reclaiming my life and dignity. Having consulted a lawyer who came highly recommended for their expertise in divorce issues, I felt more prepared and secure about the steps I was taking. Introduced to me by an acquaintance, this lawyer was well versed in dealing with problematic behaviors similar to Anthony's. Arriving in Hawaii on a night flight, I found peace and a night of sound sleep for the first time in ages. The next morning, I woke up to a call from Anthony, which I decided to answer. "Hey, is Lisa's move done?" he asked, his voice casual as if nothing significant had changed. "Yes, it's done. And I've just completed moving into my new place in Hawaii," I replied calmly. "Huh? What is it, a trip? You think I'd go on a trip alone at this time?" His voice was incredulous, and I struggled to contain my laughter at his bewilderment. Anthony, regaining some composure, spoke more assertively. Hawaii? I didn't hear about this. Going on a solo trip to Hawaii at such a time, you must be living large. Who said anything about a trip? His tone still conveyed disbelief, as if he thought I was on a whimsical solo journey and would return eventually. You hardly work, yet there's plenty for you to do in this house. Come back soon. Oh, don't pretend you don't know. It's divorce, Anthony, I stated flatly, cutting through any further pretense. Sensing something serious from my tone, Anthony began to panic. Divorce? Just like that? You think I'm taken by Lisa? Competing with her is audacious, Betty. A jealous wife wanting a divorce because her husband is too close to another woman, is that your narrative? He tried to mock my decision as if it was all a result of jealousy. Anthony, don't make me laugh. The lawyer will contact you later for details to make sure you sign properly, I said, knowing that the mention of legal action would convey my seriousness. At first, Anthony seemed to brush off my words as a joke, but the mention of a lawyer hit him hard. No way, the house has Betty's loan too. Divorce? How can that happen? With the divorce, we'll need to restructure the loan, he stammered, finally grasping the financial implications. The lawyer will explain, so if we divorce and restructure the loan, the repayment will undoubtedly be challenging, I continued, outlining the practical consequences of our separation. Feeling a great relief having a skilled lawyer handle everything from the loan to the divorce and property division, I added, oh, I almost forgot something important. I've requested a provisional garnishment on your retirement benefits from your company. I have informed them of the details. Garnishing my retirement benefits? You think that's allowed? His voice shifted from panic to anger. Anthony's response confirmed my suspicions that the reality of others knowing our divorce was due to his faults was a distressing prospect for him, especially at work. As I prepared for the next steps, I felt empowered, knowing that I was finally taking control of my life and future, far away from the dysfunction that had clouded my years with Anthony. With my resolve hardened and my plans clear, I confronted the unfolding chaos with a sense of detached observation. I'm known as a family-loving husband and father, respected by his children. Who would believe such a thing? Such a facade built on lies was bound to crumble, and I had strategically taken this into account when I reported Anthony's workplace activities and proceeded with the provisional garnishment of his retirement benefits. Furthermore, I had another detail to clarify: the issue of marital property. As I mentioned earlier, all this will be explained by the lawyer. The company is already aware of the situation, so let's see how it turns out, I stated calmly, knowing that the legal proceedings would unveil the reality of our shared assets and responsibilities. On the other end of the phone, I could hear Robert and Lisa making a commotion, clearly upset by the turn of events and particularly irked by their new household responsibilities. Then, presumably handed the phone by Anthony, they directly complained to me. Hey, what are we supposed to do about housework if Mom doesn't come back? You're not expecting Dad or Lisa to do it, are you? Their entitlement was palpable. There's no rule about who has to do the housework. You're all adults, you can manage. Besides, Robert, shouldn't you be more concerned about not looking for affairs on dating sites? I replied, my tone steady but firm. I had been informed by a friend that Robert was active on dating sites. Initially, I had doubted it could be true, but the profile page shown to me by my friend, though the photo was edited, was unmistakably Robert himself. It was discovered because he had been persistently sending messages to my friend's daughter. Accusing me of setting him up, Robert retorted, "What, accusing me of cheating? Is this some kind of harassment, Mom?" His tone was frantic and unreasonable. Harassment? I'm just reading what's written here. Surely, Lisa knows about this. I continued, unfazed. I had just sent her the link to the profile, and Lisa's scream on the other end indicated she had likely seen it. Betty, is this some kind of fake or harassment? Stop it already. Lisa pleaded, her voice a mix of panic and fury. That's my line, Lisa. Aren't you the one who's been racking up debts under my name? I countered. I had received debt collection notices for debts I did not recognize, and upon investigation, it turned out that Lisa had incurred them. They were sent to me because they couldn't collect from her. I don't know what you're spending on, but living beyond your means to the point of that is destructive. After living off Anthony's money for years, don't you dare lecture me, I told her, my voice stern. The unfolding drama confirmed the extent of the deception and irresponsibility that had characterized my marriage and family life. Now, armed with legal support and the truth, I was ready to set things right and reclaim my independence. Informed of the unfolding chaos from afar, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief to have distanced myself from such dysfunction. I had already notified my lawyer of the situation, and they would handle the legal proceedings with Anthony. My decision to end the phone call abruptly the day before had been right. I no longer wished to waste time on their endless mutterings and justifications. The next day, I learned through a mutual acquaintance that Anthony's arrival at work had been met with cold stares from his colleagues. The news of the provisional garnishment of his retirement benefits had spread, affecting his reputation and his future career opportunities. Once a top salesman revered in his field, Anthony had received various offers for re-employment and positions at affiliate companies. However, the garnishment rumors had scuttled these opportunities, and he was forced to retire as initially planned, barely managing to structure the loan repayments given his past financial extravagances. Robert, you said your job at the supermarket was part of learning management, and eventually you'd work at a famous company through Dad's introduction, right? I recalled his earlier aspirations, which now seemed so naive. It can't be helped since Dad quit his job. Lisa, why don't you sell those branded goods you pestered your dad for and use the money to support us? These suggestions, once possible avenues of recovery, now seemed futile. Lisa, furious and disillusioned, exclaimed, "Don't joke. If I knew Anthony would end up like this, I wouldn't have married Robert." She had married into the family partly because of Anthony's elite status, expecting a life of luxury and ease. Robert had used his father's reputation to lure Lisa, promising an elegant lifestyle once he secured a position through Anthony's connections, a promise that was now impossible to fulfill. Lisa's situation deteriorated rapidly. Her screaming and violent outbursts not only strained their relationship but also caught the attention of the neighbors, leading to a period under administrative care. The stress from these accumulated misfortunes triggered a severe overeating disorder in Lisa. She spent all her money on food, gaining so much weight that she could barely support herself physically. A former neighbor informed me that she had been banned from some stores due to her behavior. Robert's circumstances were no less dire. Known for having issues with customer service, his temper eventually led to a heated argument with a customer at the supermarket, a confrontation that resulted in his dismissal. It was an ignominious end to what he had hoped would be a stepping stone to a more prestigious career. As I reflected on these developments from my peaceful new environment in Hawaii, I realized the immense effort it would require for them to start anew at this stage, efforts that seemed unlikely to be successful given their current states. My own journey, though filled with its challenges and the upheaval of uprooting my life, felt increasingly justified as I observed from a distance the deepening turmoil that engulfed the family I had left behind. Reflecting on the tumultuous events that led to my relocation, it's surreal to consider the chaos I left behind. Robert, after causing such a ruckus at the supermarket that resulted in damaged shelves and merchandise, found himself jobless due to his own misconduct. His arrogance had not subsided even after his forced resignation. He often boasted about Anthony's connections and his destiny for greater things, claiming he was too good for a mere supermarket job. "Soon everyone will see how great I am. I'm not someone to just smolder in a place like this," he'd proclaim, even though his prospects were grim. Despite his bravado, Robert continued to live a delusional life, spending his days not job hunting but oscillating between home and gambling venues, buoyed by a mistaken belief in Anthony's wealth. On social media, he tried to impress others with tales of his grandeur, unaware of the harsh reality closing in around him. At home, tensions grew as he pushed the responsibility of household chores onto Lisa, echoing Anthony's past behavior towards me. Lisa is a woman, she should be able to do at least some housework, he would argue, ignoring his own responsibilities. The neighbors, disturbed by the frequent conflicts and the decline of the household, kept me informed. Their reports painted a dreadful picture. Anthony, jobless and broke, was also trying to coerce Lisa into taking over the household duties, leading to ugly confrontations. This new reality for them was a stark contrast to the life I had begun to forge for myself. In Hawaii, following the finalization of my divorce, I embraced my newfound freedom with open arms. My years of diligent saving from my part-time job and my blog had accumulated a significant nest egg, unbeknownst to Anthony and Robert. They had always underestimated me, not realizing that I had my own resources and plans. My commitment to blogging, particularly about travel and local information, was eventually recognized by a company that offered me a position to create content. I gladly accepted, combining my passion for writing with my love for Hawaii, a place I had long admired. Deciding to buy a new house here was one of the best decisions I've ever made. The warmth and welcoming nature of the people in Hawaii embraced me, an outsider, with open arms. I live alone, but the friendships I've made ensure I never feel lonely. My daily life is filled with gratitude and contentment, a stark contrast to the strife and confinement of my previous life. I'm glad that my years of effort have not only allowed me to lead a happy and free life, but have also shown me the importance of living with compassion for others. In Hawaii, surrounded by beauty and kindness, I've found a true home where I can continue to grow, explore, and